All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off with saying Ka Halayim La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba Hashem Harakak Wadash, Ma'abah. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone, my elder Herawan as well. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. It says Putin and the Prince fears in the West as Russia and Saudi Arabia deepen ties. All right. And Saudi Arabia is, I'm not mistaken, is where they had uh, executed Saddam Hussein um, for his so-called dealings with 9/11. When we all know it wasn't his, and we all understand the reason behind them going after him to change their regime. But what's happening now is you're seeing certain allies of America um, strengthen ties with Russia, and I think this is where Joe Biden went to try to beg for gas. I mean, beg for oil during the crisis that we were having these past couple months. All right, so it's bringing fear upon America, man. It's bringing fear upon America, and now everybody's looking at America. The scripture says, Lord's gonna make Babylon a gazing stock, man. All right, so this is bringing things like this is bringing fears on the United States, man. It says Prince Mohammed's decision to strengthen relations has alarmed allies, but he has long admired Russian leader. Right. So now it's alarming his allies of NATO America. All right. It says they both started wars in neighboring countries, hold significant sway over energy markets, and are known to brook not dissent and to covet spots in history. Russia's embattled president Vladimir Putin and Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler Mohammed bin Salman um, seem to have a lot in common. Nearly 8 months ago, Russia's invasion of Ukraine relations relations between Riyadh and Moscow are at a high point. As much of Europe, the United States, and the UK double down on attempts to combat an ever more menacing Russian leader. Prince Mohammed has instead chosen to deepen ties. Wow. So now, and they, you know, both of them got control over a lot of oil. Like that's why you see that pipeline that Russia cut off to Europe, and you see President Biden go over there to Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, and ask for more oil, begging for more oil. It says an OPEC plus meeting in Vienna on Wednesday is the latest landmark in a growing relationship that is increasingly defying the demands of Riyadh's allies and appearing to give Putin comfort at a critical juncture in the war. It says both countries are likely to seek to raise oil prices by cutting global supply by one to 2 million barrels a day. Mm. So now they're gonna control the petroleum market. You have an OPEC nation and a what is it? A brick nation, a BRIC nation, whatever that Russia and China are starting, controlling most of the and controlling the majority of the Earth's uh or energy supply, oil supply, and also cutting it in half or like lessening the flow of it. All right, it says such a move would follow widespread disrupt as gas supplies to Europe caused by the war and predictions of a worsening energy security crisis as the northern winter approaches. It would also alienate Washington and any ally that has tried to recruit Riyadh to cause a decreasing supply pressure by opening valves to its enormous reservoir. So yeah, so that's gonna bring America to its toes. So that's showing that these sanctions aren't really doing nothing with Russia. You want to hit me with sanctions? We're gonna control the energy flow. We're gonna control the oil prices. We're gonna control the gas lines. We're gonna control all these things. And plus, you got the OPEC nation right alongside with them to do it. All right. It says instead, Joe Biden finds himself staring down a partner in the Middle East whom he had personally visited during the summer. As all right, there was. It said during the summer, as the extent of the supply crisis became apparent, Biden walked away empty-handed. As a result, faces faces the uncomfortable prospect of taking high browser prices to midterm elections. Mm. Perhaps more importantly, for the United States president, a rise in oil prices could be seen as helping fund Putin's war effort. Because they're gonna make more money off of it. So this is when Biden went over there and came up empty-handed, man. You know, or he around here fist pumping. Come on, Joe Biden fist pumps Mohammed bin Salman during his visit to Saudi Arabia. Previous Saudi administrations would have been much more sensitive to the United States' feelings and to messaging, even though they would likely do the same thing. And Robin Mills, the chief executive of Qamar Energy, Saudi Saudi has pretty much always done what it wanted in oil, regardless of favors to the U.S., but it usually sugarcoated it. Not this time. All right, so now it's putting America in the bind, man. It's putting America in the bind. So that's where that fear is coming from. All right, it says another sign of a deepening bond between Moscow and Riyadh emerged last month when, in a rare moment of global diplomacy, Saudi diplomats secured the release of the international prisoners, including five Britons captured during the fighting inside Ukraine. The optics were stark and appeared sanctioned by Putin to give Riyadh a moment on the world stage where Saudi diplomats a long way from where Saudi diplomats a long way from home, brokering a deal that had nothing obvious to do with the Middle East. This was a gift from Putin to NBS, said a British official familiar with the political dynamics. Putin wanted it to happen, and he wanted it to seem as though the Saudis had achieved this through diplomacy. After 4 years of global fallout from the assassination of the Saudi dissident and journalist Jamal Khashoggi by Prince Mohammed security aides in Istanbul, there the Saudi throne is in the midst of a global comeback. His attempts to position the kingdom as a regional power and global mover are moving the 37-year-old core goal. Saudi officials have not condemned Putin's invasion, and nor has Moscow weighed into Saudi Arabia's invasion of Yemen over the past 5 years. A war that has left its neighbors impoverished and in ongoing need of sufficient aid. All right, so they're not caring about the war that Russia's fighting, and Russia's not caring about the war that Saudi Arabia's fighting. I'm gonna put the I'm gonna get a scripture real quick. I'm gonna, if I remember, I'm gonna put a link to this article in the description box so you can read more. But the title says a lot. It says Putin and the Prince. Fears in West as Russia and Saudi Arabia deepens ties. All right. Let me get Job chapter 18, verse 4. It says, verse 5. It says, yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. Right. Now, it, you know, that light's being shined out over the whole world is America, man. Pushing their um, uh, demonocracy, calling it democracy. Um, you know, values, wicked values throughout the whole earth. But they're just a puppet in the hand that's up their ass is Europe, man. The European Union and NATO. It says verse 6, it says, the light shall be darkened in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. Right. You know, those shall turn and hate the whore, man, and burn her with fire. So all these nations, the separating that's going on, is you heard them say it's going to be a cold winter in Europe, man. And the two major suppliers of energy or oil are Russia and Saudi Arabia. All right, and then they're saying that the supplies that they're giving out now, they're going to cut down on those also. So putting even more pressure and dividing Europe because everybody's going to have to choose a side. Are they going to let people starve and be cold, or are they going to say fuck America? All right, it says, verse 7, it says, the steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast out into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. And one of that snare is the introduction of the nuclear missiles with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Right? The Russia said, I said in the last one of the last videos that I did, Russia said they set a precedent by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, so now that same thing, they brought nuclear war into the mix. Now that's what's going to take America out. All right, verse 9, it says, the grind shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid. This is the point, because this is what making America and NATO and the European Union afraid to see an alliance join together like this. And then you bring forth another powerhouse, China, into the mix. Then of course you know Iran is going to get their fair share in that too. All right, so it's bringing terror on the West. This is Job 18 and 11. It says, terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. Right. This is going to so now America's being driven to the feet. They're gonna have to do something. All right. And the elder did a lesson a little earlier today talking about how um um how America it was Apostle to Heart how America the doesn't have any missile defense. Doesn't have any missile defense. You know, the land of unwalled villages, man. Those nukes are going to destroy this place. 200 million missiles, man. Verse 12, it says, his strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of him, of his skin, even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and shall bring him to the king of terror. Right. So all these weapons that are being formed are for Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to bring forth an instrument to destroy. All right. Let me get Isaiah. We'll close it out with this, because this is ultimately what this is going to lead down to. Isaiah 54 and 16, it says, behold, I have created the smith. This is Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, that bloweth the coals of the fire, and bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. All right, and that's those are those missiles, man. So the Lord is opening up His armory, man, to destroy this place, Babylon the Great, which is America. All right. And this Jeremiah 50. I'm gonna close it out with this Jeremiah 50 and 24. It says, "I have laid this." In verse 22, it says, "The sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction." That great destruction is gonna come here. It says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken?" How is Babylon? See, the hammer of the earth, the one that's enforcing everything. That's America's the focal point. America's that beacon. America is that light being ran by the Illuminati. All right. It says, verse 23. It says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" All right. It says, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou was not. Thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wasn't not aware. Thou art found, also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord, and mainly and striven against the people, man." So that great sword that was given unto Esau, man, is going to be ultimately his destruction. It says, verse 24, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art taken, also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. The Lord hath opened his armory, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh Shai of hosts in the land of the Chaldees." So that's what's going to devour him, according to the book of Job, chapter 18. And that's that snare that was in that net that was laid down for Esau, man. Those missiles, man. They set a precedence by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, bombing Japan, and that who live by the gun shall die by the gun. Who live by the sword shall die by the sword. And that's what's coming to America, and ultimately that's what's going to bring this whole system that Esau put up down and bring them down. All right, to the hands of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh. Lord, willing this lesson with edify the certain purpose of that like Zakah, Halayim, by Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, by Shem Harakah Kodash, my mom. Double honor to the elder apostles, the great millstone, my elder Heroin as well. Salutations to the Ark that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.